What I can tell the right honourable gentleman is that all guidance was followed completely.
Cheese and wine on the lawn of Downing Street with the Prime Minister and his wife while the country languished in lockdown. According to The Guardian exclusive, the photo was taken in May last year when everyone else was told to meet only one other person outdoors. Number 10 insists it was a work meeting.
Justice Secretary Dominic Raab began a series of interviews by predictably attempting to defend the number 10 position with this.
Number 10 is a place of work, also the Prime Minister's home, and they use the garden for work meetings, and that's what you can see. This is a workplace, and it is consistent, exactly what you can see is consistent with the rules that applied to workplaces. So it's fundamentally a place of work. People having a drink in a work setting.
It was, of course, completely untrue, as we subsequently found out as the Justice Secretary's explanation for the number 10 gathering quickly began to fall apart.
Just explain to us what was actually happening here.
Well, you're right to point to those rules around social mixing, but of course number 10, and including number 10, the garden there, is used for work meetings. They were throughout the day to which the picture relates, and as with many places of work, particularly if you can think of how hard they're working and under the various pressures of the week, they would sometimes have a drink, and that's what you can see there. But that was primarily after the work meetings of the day. And sometimes, as in many work situations, particularly given the pressures that the number 10 team are under, they might have a drink after the formal business has ended. On occasion, they had a drink afterwards. Business was conducted. Occasionally, they would have a drink afterwards, and that's what you saw there.
Here's human rights barrister Adam Wagner.
Having heard Dominic Raab say this morning on Sky News that this was a drink after the formal business had ended, so after a press conference, doesn't sound convincing as a work gathering. It sounds a lot like a social gathering. And at the time, the rules were slightly different earlier in 2020 than they were at the time of these alleged Christmas parties in December. You could have a gathering in a non-public space, but you still had to be there with a reasonable excuse for having left your home. And one of those reasonable excuses, the only one that could have applied, was likely to be the need to work, where that could not reasonably be done at home. And I don't really see how a social gathering, as Dominic Raab seems to have suggested it was, after work, so after the working day, would fall within that reasonable excuse.
So when the Prime Minister told Parliament this,
all guidance was followed.
it was again completely untrue.